Hello, and welcome to the Z-Hut. Today, I'm going to show you some tips and tricks to catch more mice, rats, or whatever kind of rodents you're after, either using your common snap traps, or the homemade bucket traps, or even possibly using the poison. And this will also work, the tips I'm going to show you with the snap trap will also work with the glue traps, which a lot of people do use those as well, but I tend to stay away from those. I personally prefer the snap traps myself. So, alright, well, let's get started and get on to tip and trick number 1. Alright, now for the first tip here, we're out at my chicken coop, and I'm going to show you one of the best ways I know of using poison. Now, as you can see right here, there's a hole going into the ground, and this is was dug by the rats to go in and out of the chicken coop on the back side of it. So what I have here is a piece of PVC pipe that's big enough that the rats can get into it, but small enough that my cat is not going to get into it. And what I have is in the middle, there's some rat poison. Now, you can use a screw to screw it down, or use a hot glue gun to glue it down, but you want to mount it in there somehow so it isn't getting drug off, or if it gets bumped, it isn't falling out and one of your other animals getting to it. And the other end of it actually goes into some tall grass where I imagine the rats would be as well. So there's 2 different angles they could come into and get into it. So that's tip number 1, and that's the one for poison. Well, let's go take a look at some tips and tricks for the snap trap. The snap trap, one of the most recognized and most commonly used mouse trap there is. But the biggest thing that most people do with these is they don't bait them the right way. That's the most important thing with a snap trap, is how you bait it. And the first thing you're thinking, well, you put peanut butter on it, of course. No, do not use peanut butter. And now you're scrolling down, typing in a comment, well, this is how I use peanut butter. Trust me, I've heard them all, I've seen them all. Some people will put the peanut butter on the underside of the trigger, and yes, it will increase your chance of getting more rodents that way, but you're still going to find the trap licked clean. And when I first ever baited a mouse trap, that's what I used, peanut butter. And over 50% of the time, they were licked clean. We're probably talking closer to 70% of the time, they were licked clean, and I never had anything. Well, a few years ago, I came up with one of the best ways possible to bait these, and it went to 99.9%. I still, to this date, have never found a trap cleaned and not set off. I found them set off, but there was still bait on them. So obviously it didn't get the rodent, or the cat probably walked over it or something like that. But I've never found one cleaned. Never. What you do is you get yourself one of these. It's called a hot glue gun. Then if you've got a pet, a cat or a dog, you take a little bit of cat food or dog food and hot glue gun it onto the trigger. If you don't have a pet, candy works good, hard candy. Chocolate stuff like that, maybe not as good, because, well, it's going to melt when you use this anyway. I've also, before in a bind, I've used breakfast cereal like Cheerios and stuff like that. That works as well. Now, that's for mouse traps. If you have a rat trap, the best bait for them, it's either a chicken wing tip, the part of the chicken wing, you never eat. Now, there is a few people that do, but most people don't. You want a chicken wing tip, or you want a piece of chicken bone, a small bone that's still got a little bit of meat on it. And you're thinking, well, you ain't going to hot glue gun that because it's greasy. No, you're not going to hot glue gun it. You're going to take some thread or some fishing line, and you tie it onto the trigger. And tie it on real tight. And that's the key. You want to put the bait on there so they've got a pull on it. And the thing with the chicken bone or wingtip with the rats will eat another rat. They will eat a mouse. they're cannibals. I mean, they'll eat anything. Mice, if they're really hungry, yes, they will eat another dead mouse or dead animal, but generally not as much as rats will. So them are the two biggest tricks for baiting. Now another thing, since we're talking about how rats can be cannibals, of course, at the beginning of the video, you seen I have a chicken coop. Well, I'd put traps out, come out the next day, and the trap is gone. Well, obviously I caught something. You know what happened? Another rat or some critter hauled it off. This is what you do. You take a little piece of plywood, and this is a trap I use in my garage. I actually don't use traps in the house. I got 3 cats, so there ain't even a point of putting a trap in there. The cats are going to get them before a trap will. But just take a little chunk of, this is a piece of scrap plywood, and screw or hot glue gun or Elmer's wood glue, whatever you have, just to attach it to this piece of wood. And another critter is going to have a real hard time trying to haul it off. And I do my rat traps as well this way, but I use a lot larger piece of wood. Another thing too, if you were like in a barn or somewhere that had a dirt floor, you can take and just drill a small hole into one corner and hook a real small chain and then pound that to like a tent stake into the ground. That will work as well. But the plywood's the easiest. Now, another little tip. And I ran across this one actually not too long ago. So my other videos, I do have a couple other videos on bait and traps and stuff, but this is a new tip. I've found, and I have tried it, you get some sesame oil, and you put a little bit of it around the trap. Now, if you're not putting it on a piece of plywood, just put a little bit, around the trap. For some reason, the rodents smell this, and it attracts them. Now, you ain't going to really be able to use this on the trigger. You could maybe try hot glue gun and a sponge on there and put it on there. That might be something I might have to try for a future video. But just a couple drops of the sesame oil around the trap, and I have noticed it does bring in more rodents. It actually seems to work better on the rat traps than the mouse traps, which I don't really use mouse traps very often anymore anyway. I got 2 of them in the garage. But I have all kinds of rat traps because I keep chickens, and you got chickens, you got rats. So give that a try, the sesame oil. Now, the only other tip about your snap traps is where you place them. If you put this in the middle of a room, even if you put something on there that are going to smell, it's still probably not going to get nothing. Mice, rats, they tend to stay near walls or tall grass. They don't like to be in the open. So if you're in your garage or your bathroom or your bedroom, in a bedroom underneath a bed, right up next to a wall is a really good place. In a closet up next to a wall is a good place. In your kitchen, next to your fridge or stove, right back against the wall if you can get it on there. Otherwise, put it right directly in front of your stove and the fridge, because stuff gets under there. Breakfast cereal, all kinds of things. And if you don't believe me, go pull your fridge and stove out right now. You'd probably be surprised what you'd find under there. And that attracts mice. And so if you're using them in the kitchen, put it by your stove or fridge is my best recommendation. Otherwise, bedrooms, under a bed next to a wall. Basements, usually if you got like a shelf that's got a little clearance underneath it, right next to that, up by a wall. Somewhere where, they're going to be going and they're going to feel comfortable, because they're not generally going to be running right out in the middle open of your room. So like I said, you put this in the middle of a room. Same thing with a bucket trap. You want to put it near a wall. You don't want to just put it right out in the open. You're never going to get anything. All right, well, with that, one last tip. We haven't really talked about the bucket traps too much yet. With the bucket trap, like I said, you want to put it up near a wall. That works the best. And to bait them, now there's where you can use your peanut butter. It works because the bucket trap has the roller. They're not going to just sit there and lick. They're going to smell the peanut butter and go out there and get a little taste of it, but then it's going to spin and down in the drink they go. So peanut butter is perfectly fine on the bucket traps. Otherwise, just remember to put them, up near a wall, in a basement, maybe put it next to a shelf and have 2 ramps, one that comes up off the floor and then another ramp that comes off the shelf. Increase your chances of getting more customers for your bucket trap. All right, well, with that, I can't really think of anything else to add. If you thought of something while you're watching this video, leave a comment below. I'll check it out. If I think it's good, next time I do one of these videos on bait and traps, I'll throw your idea in there and I'll give you credit for it as well. So I'd like to thank you for joining us here at the Z Hut today. I hope you have a great day and I hope you catch them rodents.